Hello and welcome to ERPWebTutor.com. This is Harideep, and in this video we will talk about the solutions for the practice questions for our HCM Implementation Specialist Certification exam. So the way we will do it is we will go through the questions, and wherever there's a chance, we will go into the application to show you, where those configurations are, which screens are involved. So um, that way you'll have a better understanding. The concepts would be clear. So if you are trying to take the test and the questions are not exactly the same, but having the similar flavor, you will not have any difficulty answering the questions. So these questions are time tested. I'm pretty certain that if you go through these questions well, if you go through the solutions, practice them well, then you should not find any difficulty in cracking this exam. So let's take a look at question number one. Sorry about that. So let's take a look at question number one. So here is question number one. So the question says the payroll has completed, but the payroll process is an incomplete status. The prepayment process is run. So this question is clearly from the payroll module. So you don't need to be an expert like having 10 implementations under your belt to actually crack this exam. What they are trying to test you is about your fundamental concepts on the different areas of HCM. So this is clearly a payroll questions. We will go into the payroll applications in HCM, and we will see where this information are stored and how to answer this question. So when you run the payroll process, if you go into your view and then you go into your payroll process results, that's where you see the results of all the payroll process that you have run. Now I'm trying to find out the payroll run. That's what the question says. The payroll process has been run. So the action type for that is run. Okay. And I'm trying to find everything. And then this is my status. This is the status of this run. Okay. I'm trying to find a status which is incomplete. So I can query for something which is run, but the status is incomplete. So this is the screen where you do it. Okay. So we can see that, okay, this is the payroll run 31st of Jan 2007. This is a semi-monthly payroll, and the status is incomplete. Okay. Now, ask the question. No, I should tell you that when this happens. Okay. When is the status incomplete? Even after the payroll process has been completed. The concurrent program is completed, but the status of the run itself is incomplete. So you can go into the assignment process results. So assignment process. So here it will list you all the employees that were processed as a part of this payroll. And you can see that some were complete, some are skipped. Now what we are looking for is something which is error. The status is error. Okay. Now you can see that there's a lot of employees where the status is error. Okay. Now that is the reason why this payroll status is incomplete, because it has error status while trying to process some of the employees. Now when you run the prepayment at this point, what it will do is it will include the rest of the employees for which the payroll status is complete. Okay, so it's going to look for the status as complete on this screen, and it will process the prepayment for those employees. Now let's go back to the answers options. So we can see that the prepayment, so option number A is saying the prepayment process will not complete. Okay, so which we already established is not correct. So this is not my answer. Prepayments are processed only for those employees whose payroll process is incomplete. That doesn't make any sense, right? Because how can you even do the prepayment if the payroll process is incomplete. Prepayments are processed only for those employees whose payroll process is complete. So that is my correct answer. So let's just look through the other options. Prepayments are processed for all the employees for whom payroll was run. No, because you need to have the payroll status as complete. That's what we saw. And prepayments will be processed for all the employees with the default payment method. This is not even relevant. Okay, so this is not even relevant. So this is also, this option is out. Now, since we are on the application explaining this, what we can do is, we will show you, you can have a different variation of this question, is that payroll process has been run, the status is incomplete. What could be the probable reason why this is incomplete? So the correct answer would be there are some employee assignments within the payroll run whose status is error. Okay, so that is the reason why the payroll status is incomplete. The next variation of this question could be you have a payroll run and the status is incomplete. How would you fix the status to complete? So one way of doing it is you can go into, and first of all, you can fix, you can roll back the payroll and then, fix the employees and then rerun. That's one way. The other way is, let's say you have, the payroll has already processed 300 employees and there are like just 1 or 2 employees which have the status error. You don't want to roll back everybody. You can just, process the rest of the group and you can run a quick pay or something for those 2 employees for which we have an error. So the other way of doing it is you can just, click on the employee and click on this X icon, which will delete. So you can actually delete this employee's information from this payroll run. I said yes. Okay, so one by one, if you delete all the employees, and then there will be nobody with the status error in this payroll. So that will make the status as complete. Okay, so that could be a different question. How will you make the status to complete when the status shows that it's incomplete, but the payroll process has been run? So that's the other way of doing it, deleting the employees within the run for whom the status is error. Okay, so that answers this question and also hopefully will give you a better idea about the process itself. Okay, so let's get out of here and let's go to question number 2. Question number 2, it says that HR department of XYZ has 2 types of users, HR admin and head of the department. So they're using 2 different responsibilities. So we will start doing our little scribble work here. So let's, we say that we have HR admins. Okay, so they are the HR admins and you have the HODs. Okay, so what the responsibility they are using? So they're using the HR executive responsibility. Okay, and they are using HR manager responsibility. Okay. The HOD wants to ensure that the HR admin has read-only access to the grade description form. Assuming that the grade description form and the task flow associated with both the responsibilities are different, how can this be done? Okay. Now, we will just go through the options, answer options, and see, and then we will also go into the application and validate that. Okay. So option A is saying add the parameter query only is equal to yes to the grade description form associated with HR executive responsibility. Okay, so we will validate that. It looks to me like a likely option. Create a new custom form using custom form blah blah under the HR executive responsibility with the specific restrictions. Okay, that could also, but what we are doing is we're trying to make it read only. We're not trying to put any restrictions in a way. Okay, use HR security profile to make the grade description form read only. Okay, that option can be eliminated right away because we know that security profile is not for a form. Okay, it's for a user or for an application or for a responsibility. So um, you don't want to make this entire responsibility read only, because that's not what they're asking for. They're asking for the grade form to be read only. Okay. Okay, if they're saying that we are trying to create a read-only responsibility, yes, HR security profile. It's actually not the HR security profile anyways. This is actually the HR read-only profile. So that's the one, the HR query-only profile. So HR forms cannot be made read-only. That's not a correct assumption. So that's not a correct assumption. So that's wrong. That's wrong. Okay. Use the grade description function. Okay, that's just pointless. So we have A and B, and we will look for A, which to me is the likely answer. So we will explain you what this means. Okay. So let's go into the function. So we have created two different functions, XX define grades and XX grades read only. Okay. Right now they are in the same responsibility, but doesn't matter. So let's go into the application developer from where we have access to the functions. So what we have done here, so we will go into application function and we will look for the function. We have called this as XX. So you can practice this the same way. So we have created two functions. One's called XX define grades and XX define grades read only. And the properties, the same, they are the form. What's the name of the form? The name of the form is define grades. This is again based on the information tied to the actual define grades form, the seeded one. So you can look for the application, the menu, and drill down to the appropriate function, find that form, and create your test case. So this is in my case, this is the form that's associated with define grades. And what I have done is I have added this parameter here called query only equals yes. So what it will do is when you are into the responsibility and trying to open a function, it will look for the value in this parameter and it will see, oh, this is query only is equal to yes. That means this form is a read-only form. Okay, and then what I did, I just added these two functions to the menu associated with my HRMS or human resource responsibility. Okay, now you can attach those two functions with two different responsibilities because that's what they're asking for. But for the purpose of testing, you can just assign this to the same responsibility and make sure that one form is editable, enterable, and the other form is read-only. So let's take a look at the first one, which is XX define grades. And you can see that I can enter something, right? I can enter the grades. So this is my editable form, which we are supposed to add to the HR manager responsibility for the question. And then we have the second form, which is XX define grades read only. And you can see just by looking at the form that this is a read only form. Okay, I cannot just type anything. It's protected against upgrade. Okay, so you can, of course, it's gonna ask me for a sequence number, but I cannot enter any sequence number. That makes this form read only. I can query for the values and I can see them. You can see that it's all grayed out, so I cannot really edit the values. So that way we can confirm that by adding that parameter query only is equal to yes, we can make a form read only. Okay, so that's my answer. So my answer to this is A. Move on to the next question. In core HR, how can an organization capture all the recruitment activities for the current financial year within a parent recruitment activity? Okay, now this is not an iRecruitment question. This is just a basic core HR recruitment question. Okay, so we can go into the application and try to see how this is done. So we want to have one parent recruiting activity and all the recruiting activities should be within that parent recruiting activity. So we can go into recruitment, and we can go into this recruitment and activity form. And this is where, so I can say this is for the year 2014. So I can say the start date is 1st of Jan 2014. Okay, and I can call this IT recruiting. So this is our IT recruiting activity. Okay, so this is the parent activity for all kinds of recruiting for the IT department, something like that. Okay, I don't need to have a type. I can see the values. What are the different values here? Advertisement, career fair, no, doesn't matter. It's a non-required field. I can put an end date if this is for the year 2014. So I'm saying this is from 31st of December. Okay, and I can save it because this is my parent activity, and I can see that this is the little section here within recruitment activity. So we will create the next one, and this is called hire, or we can call it hire IT developer, say level 3. Okay, and this is the start date is today, closing date, whatever, you can put it after you close it. And here we can find the one that we want, and we called it what? IT recruitment activity. Okay, and we can save this. So what this is doing is we are creating a recruitment activity within this parent recruitment activity. So this is the within recruitment activity section. Here we select the parent, and that's how we create our recruitment activity. Let's go back to the answer choices. So we're saying the first answer choice is create the parent recruitment activity while creating the child. So we already did that. We created the parent. While creating the child recruitment activity, specify the parent recruitment activity in the within recruitment activity 1 section. Okay, so that's what it is. So that's what we just did. So we clearly know that this is the answer. We will also take a look at options, the other options, just to make sure that they can be eliminated. In this case, the answer A is the first. The correct answer is the first option, so it's easy. So attach multiple recruitment activities to the same requisition. No, it doesn't matter. Attach multiple recruitment activities to the same vacancy. That's not what they're asking for. They're asking for to capture the recruitment activities within the parent recruitment activity. Okay, so it's nothing to do with vacancy. Same thing, it's nothing to do with requisition. So this is out. This is out. While creating the child parent recruitment activities, check the primary flag for the parent. So this is not about primary, okay. A recruitment activity cannot be linked to any other recruitment activity. We just saw that, we just linked it. So that's not valid. Okay, so we now have the answer, and we also have the explanation. Move on to the next question. Okay, now an element exists with the classification tax deduction. The element is not appearing in the adjust balance element list. Identify the 2 reasons for this. Okay, let's take a look at the answer choices. Adjustment cannot be done for the element classification tax deduction. Okay, in order to prove that this is right or wrong, what we will do is we will look for something which is of the type tax deduction. So we can look for an element which is of the type tax deduction. Okay, so the primary classification should be tax deduction. So let's look for something. Okay, so city, okay, so city to week tax element for vertex payroll tax. So we can look for federal income tax, which is also of the type tax deductions, and we can look for We will go to our um, fast path and we will go to adjust balances and make sure that we will look at for bad stock. Okay, let's look for bad stock and let's try to find federal income tax, which is FIT. Okay, FIT. So it appears. So that tells me that answer choice A is not correct. So this is out. A valid element link is not created. Sounds about right. Okay, so the element must have an input value of the type date. So let's take a look at the element description for FIT. Okay, so we will go back to total compensation, basic, element description, and I will look for FIT again. And let's see the input values that I have. I can see I have pay value and supplemental tax. None of these are dates, and I can still see this element in my adjust balance. So that tells me that option C is not a valid option. And I'm looking for two reasons. Keep in mind that I'm actually looking for two reasons. So I need to find two appropriate reasons. So this is not a single choice answer. If the payroll is run for the effective date, then element will not be available in the list of values. This just doesn't make any sense. So D is not an option. The element creation date is later than the effective date. Okay, that sounds reasonable. So let's prove that B and E are valid. Okay, in order to prove that, I'm going to create an element. Okay, so I'm going to call it XX tax deduction. Okay, doesn't matter. The primary classification is tax deduction. I'm going to select this. I'm going to just enter the bare minimum information for this. So let's try to save. Okay, I have to enter the further information. And this is the jurisdiction. This is going to be a federal. Okay, and let's save this. Okay, the element is saved. The input values, I can see there's one pay value. I can just add something more, which is the supplemental tax, which I saw for our seeded element. And let's save this. Okay. Now, I've just created the element without the link. Now let's try to go back to adjust balances. Fast path, adjust balances. Look for pad stock one more time and try to find this element. Okay, my element name is XX tax deduction. I can see that this element is not visible. I do not have a link. Okay, now let me go ahead and create a link for this element, and then we will see it again. And keep in mind that the effective date or the creation date of the element is today's date, which is the 26th of May. So I'm going to find my element and I'm going to link this to all payrolls and I'm going to save this. So now the element has a link. Okay, let's go back again to adjust balances. And let's look for pad stock one more time, and now we will try to find the element here in the list. Okay, let's try to find the element, and there you go. So I'm able to see the element. Definitely link is a factor. So this is definitely my one option Okay, and of course, just by the method of elimination, I know that since I could successfully eliminate A, C, and D, B and E is my correct answer. But what I'm doing is I'm just proving and I'm just making sure by validating this inference from the application, so that if we get any different variation to the question, we will know what the answer is. So now I'm going to clear this. I'm going to clear this, okay, and I'm going to date track to tomorrow, okay. I'm going to, or date track to yesterday. So I'm going to go to 25th of May when this element has not been created. Now let's try to find this element again. Okay, so as you can see that I'm not able to find the element on the 25th because of the effective date. So that proves, yes, B and E are the correct answer choices. Move on to the next question. Okay, so identify the 3 tasks that can be performed in Compensation Workbench. Now this, if you have done Compensation Workbench, this is a very easy thing to do. And we can also go into this HR professional responsibility. So we just need to assign that responsibility to our user. So let's go ahead and do that. Go to System Administrator, open the user form, and let's add this to operations. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to add this responsibility called HR Professional V4. Hopefully it will have the right profiles and all. I'm just going into the responsibility to show you what you can actually view in that responsibility. And I will go to Compensation Workbench for administrators. So right now you can see that there's no task, but if I had selected a different user, so let's go ahead and look for a different user. So I'm logging in as a different user now. So I'm logging in as demo HR, and we will go into the HR professional, or we can go to the Compensation Workbench for administrator. We can use that as well. So what I can see is I can see that set budgets, and I can, look for some employees that I have. And let's go to the task, update assignment information. Let's go to the task. Okay, so we are on this task, and we can see that I can change the job, I can do the budgets, and of course I can also review and submit. Okay, so that's the 3 tasks that I can do. So I can set budgets, I can review and submit, and I can do a change job. So let's move on to the next question. For a new employee, the assignment and element related data was updated into the system. After the payroll and the post-payroll process were run, it was found that the employee's bank account information was not entered into the system. Assuming that no override payment method was specified while running the prepayment process, what payment method would the system use for the new employee? Okay, let's take a look at what is happening here. I'm looking at the employee. I'm looking for some employee for which there is no payment method defined. So I can look for, I will just show you the screen where the payment methods are. I will use Pat Stock again. And so we go to assignment. And under others, you see something called pay method. Okay, so here you actually defined the different pay methods See, you can see this employee, right? So there's no personal payment method defined for Pat stock. So what will happen when the payroll or the prepayment is run? The purpose of the prepayment is to distribute the money that Pat stock is going to get or an employee is going to get uh, between the different payment methods that the employee has. So if I have part of my salary paid out as check, part of it as direct deposit, part of it has to be paid as alimony or something. So all those payment methods are defined on the screen. So if you do not define anything on the screen, what the system does when you run the prepayment, the system looks for the payment method on the payroll. So if you go to the payroll and query for any payroll, so I can see any payroll, I can see the valid payment methods, and I can see that this check is the valid or the default payment method associated with this payroll. So when I run the payroll, and if I do not find any payroll or any payment method on the employee, this is what the system is going to look, and this is what the system or the process will assign the entire payment towards. So let's take a look at the options. The prepayment process would error out. No, that's not. It never errors out because of a missing payment method. The employee would be paid by the default payment method associated with the payroll of the employee. So that is the default payment method with the payroll of the employee. So that is the correct answer. So we can see that employee would be paid default payment method with the consolidation set. Doesn't matter because the consolidation set doesn't have it. Prepayment will not be processed. Again, that is not correct. The employee would be paid with the default payment method associated with the business group. There's no such thing. Okay, so answer is B. Okay, move on to the next question. In the approval management engine, how are the approvers notified in the consensus voting regime? So whenever we're talking about a consensus, so that means that it will be sent out to 4 or 5 people, and they all must approve. So they all must approve, right? That's the consensus. So how is it being sent? How is it being sent? It is being sent parallelly to all the approvers. So answer choice is A. Okay? Members are notified in parallel. That means at the same time. You can look at the other options. Members are notified one after the other. That doesn't mean it's a consensus. The first member to respond to the notification requesting approval becomes the group's. No, it's a consensus. Doesn't make sense. No approval is required, only FYI. That's also doesn't make sense. Members are notified in serial. That's also not a consensus voting. So members are notified in parallel. Next question. In Core HR, an applicant was created on July 1st, 2009 with the applicant status accepted. On 20th July 2009, the same applicant was hired in the system with the hire date set as 20th July. Okay, so applicant on 1st July, employee becomes an employee on 20th of July. Assuming that there are no other transactions done for this person, the hire date now needs to be changed to 10th of July. So let's quickly take a look and see how this can be done. Okay, I will look for an applicant. Let's look for an applicant. Okay, so the type is applicant. So let's find. Okay, so let's find somebody. Okay, so let's look for someone who is an applicant. Okay. So the applicant was created, effective what? So let's change the effective date to today's date. We are still on the 25th of May. Reset to today. And we can see that the date is 29th of August, and let's hire this employee. So let's go to 20th of May 2014, and we are going to hire this person. Okay, we're going to hire applicant. Okay, and hiring as an employee, and we will go ahead and save this information. Okay, we will do an update. Of course, this is the only choice because you're changing the person from an applicant to an employee on a different date. Okay, an employee cannot be on a payroll. That's okay. You have not entered a social. That's okay too. Okay, so the employee information has been saved, and what we are trying to do is we are trying to change this from 20th of May. Instead of 20th of May, the employee should be hired on the 10th of May. Okay, and this is the exact scenario what they're saying, that nothing has been done. So I can change this latest start date to 10th of May, and I will do a correction. So as of now, I'm on 20th of May. That's what my date track date is. I change the latest start date to 10th of May and do a correction. And they're saying the original hire date will be updated because that's exactly what we are trying to do or trying to achieve. So we should be able to save this information now. And this is going to do the same kind of validation about payroll, social security, and that's okay. Do you select yes to change the hire date before updating, or say no? I will. For now, it doesn't matter because saying that there's nothing has been processed. So we will say yes, and you can see that the effective date of the employee has been changed to 10th of May 2014. So this is how we do it. So we date track to the date to which the employee was hired and change the effective date. So if we look at all the options, I can see that option B talks about 10th. Oh, pardon this incorrect typos. So I cannot do anything on the 10th of July because 10th July is the employee is still an applicant. I have to be on the date where the employee is this person is an employee. The only option that I have is option A, which is the 20th of July. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. So identify the four, which are the four are available as dynamic database item in the FAST formula of the type Oracle Payroll. So we know that when we are doing writing formulas on payrolls, of course we have the elements, we have the balances, we have the absence types, and the grade rates. The table values are not available as they are not available to us as dynamic. We are looking for dynamic database items, okay? Now, table values, we can use a function called get table value, okay? That's the function that we can use. So that's the function. But this is not available to us as a dynamic database item, okay? So the options are B, C, D, and E. So that's the correct answer. Okay. So let's move on to the last question. Question number 10. Okay, a new key flex field structure has been defined for the personal analysis flex field. What is the additional step that you need to do to view this personal analysis flex field? So personal analysis flex field is nothing but this is the SITs. Okay, so this is the special information. Okay, so we define this. So let's go into the application. Okay, sorry about that. Let's just reopen the application. We'll go to Application Developer. Oh, let's just log out and log back in. Okay, so we can go to Application Developer, Flex Field, Key Flex Field. segments. Okay, and then the flex field title is going to be personal. Okay, it's the flex field title, not the application. Personal analysis. Personal analysis. Okay. Personal analysis key flex field. So this is the name of the key flex field. I can add a segment here. I can add a segment or structure called XX test, and the title remains the same. I'm going to add a segment. I'm going to add a segment. It's called column 1 window prompt, and I can use the segment 1, and I will go ahead and save it. I need to freeze the flex field definition. Okay, let me go ahead and freeze and then compile. Sorry, I need to compile. Okay, compile. I'll also just let me unfreeze in one quick time, and then I will just check this allow dynamic insert. Otherwise, I'm going to have difficulty entering data. Okay, I'm going to compile again. So this is compiled now. Now we will go into our HCM or human resource responsibility, and we will try to enter something for this SIT. Okay. We go to people, look for patch stock. Okay, and then we go to special info. And let's try to add, or let's try to view the SIT that we just created. We called it XX, and we cannot see it. So it tells me that even though the SIT has been created, it doesn't appear right away. We need to do something more for the SIT to be visible on this screen. So let's see how this is done. We go to other definitions and go to special information types. And here we need to add the SIT that we created. Okay, XX tax deduction, or sorry, this is something XX test, sorry. Okay, so this is the flex field structure that we created, and we want to make it available under other. So the other is for the SIT on the employee screen. That's where the other is for. So if I check the job and position, it's going to be appearing on the job and position as well. So this is how you restrict a SIT on a particular form. Okay, depending on which one you select, job, position, or other, it's going to appear on those screens. So I just check this checkbox for other, and I am on the HRMS responsibility for the US business group. Okay, that is also important. So now if I go and look for patch stock and go to special info and look for XX, we should be able to find it right there. So now we can see that we have our flex field enabled on the special information form on the employee. So let's take a look at the answer choices. So SIT in the special information types form, create a row for the new SIT, select the enable checkbox for other. So this is exactly what we just did. So now we know this is the right answer. Okay, and we can eliminate the rest of the answer choices. So my answer is A. Okay, so that marks the end of the solution for the 10 questions, the first 10 questions. So we will continue with the remaining questions. If you have any questions on any of the explanations, feel free to post and we will get back to you. So Thanks for watching, and for more useful videos, do visit us at www.erpwebtutor.com and enjoy learning Oracle apps.